I'm very appreciative of you, bro, for like always being open to doing stuff like this last minute. I know we don't talk much, but it's just nice to be able to have a conversation.
It was 2 weeks. 2 weeks notice is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I feel like we've been on a better cadence though, but most definitely, I just got to ask, like, just not only for being best friends or whatnot, but like, how are you doing, bro? What are two big changes that you've made in your life before we get into all this that weren't made when we last talked?
That's kind of funny. There is kind of something like a little static.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll figure it out.
So I've become a runner the last year and a half or so.
Okay.
Like start of 2023,
Yeah.
I would say. And then in the start of this last year, I like really, like we talked about last time we talked, to really like re-engaged with my faith and started going back to church and being a part of that community. And so I just started training Monday, started like my first day of training for my next half marathon.
Yeah, okay.
And it was funny, I was telling myself, like this one's a lot different. Like it's going to be a lot more structured and like not as random with the workouts and different things. And I was telling myself, like this time I'm not just a runner. Like I felt like this time last year I was a runner.
Yeah.
And
okay.
now I was telling myself on Monday I'm a Christian who happens to be a runner now.
Okay.
So that's how I like. I don't want to
Identify
tell
as
myself.
that.
Yeah, if someone asks me like who I am, I guess, or how I identify, I
Uh-huh.
would say Christian first and then runner. Whereas last year I definitely wouldn't have said that.
Dude, that's amazing. It's a breath of fresh air for sure. I've personally seen a lot of growth. We don't talk very much, but obviously in this case, a pro of social media is being able to see how much of it can be such a like a impact in people's lives with how you carry your identity, which is Christ first for you, and which is how I do my best and I try my best to live my life. And like I texted you, like you have been such an inspiration for me, to get deeper into my faith and be able to see people that are close to me to be able to attack that.
Well,
So,
and yeah, dude, like I think that's why it's so important to share it online and stuff, especially nowadays. But it was kind of a few things that like more recently, I guess, that inspired me was all the athletes during the Olympics that were like,
yeah,
making it known
Taking a
about their
stand.
faith. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that was refreshing to see. And what's it called? No, I don't know. I guess just that's the other side of social media is just being exposed. Like when your algorithm gets going, you're exposed to other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I guess you kind of see there's more out there than you realize, like if you go looking for it.
Yeah, dude. And I think it falls in line with the theme of what I really want to talk about today. And we've had great conversations on the podcast, and I'm very fortunate to be able to have someone as close to you that is willing to come and give a little bit more of their opinion on what's going on with things.
Yeah.
But I really want to center this conversation around like getting over the self-doubt, like what it takes to kind of get over that. And already we've talked a good amount about like our story together and how we've become friends, but I really want to get deeper into this one and just talk to me about a time recently that you were in that zone, maybe before you found the running part, but where the self-doubt was really hitting and you really had to make a change for yourself.
Oh man, I feel like that happens every few weeks for me, but I don't know. I think the running thing has been like the easiest. I think that's why I've enjoyed it so much, is that it's very simple and it's very like measurable, your results and stuff, and so like that's kind of what attracted me to running, is like setting that goal and like having a hard challenge to work towards and overcome. It's super simple to measure it, and so that's kind of helped me. That's definitely, I've tried applying that to work wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess, yeah, definitely like, I would say March, April is when I really had to make the big decision of switching careers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I was second doubting myself every other day. You know what I mean?
Talk to me, what were those like comments that you would tell yourself in your head?
The biggest thing was the money, honestly, because I took a bit of a pay cut switching. Wow. Yeah. And a lot of people wouldn't do that, especially nowadays. But I told myself, for one, like the unhappiness I was feeling was definitely not worth the pay I was getting, which wasn't
Yeah.
even like, it's not like it was even close to six figures. So like if it was even within the $80,000 park range, I definitely would have probably thought more about sticking it out.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's what was nice about, being, I guess, technically entry level. So the money was big. The stability, for the most part as a teacher, you're not going to get fired as long as you
It's a pretty
really
clear expectation
Yeah,
of
you
what's
gotta
coming
go out
in.
of
Not to
your
say
way.
that's easy at all,
no,
but
no.
like you come in and you're really just there to make sure that you're making these
Yeah.
kids take strides.
Right.
Like
And you could be a terrible teacher and not get fired. As long as you're not doing anything
Yeah.
like unethical or illegal, you're pretty good.
it's a whole other conversation.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's pretty hard to get fired or to it's you're pretty much guaranteed a job.
Yeah.
Is what I was trying to get
So
at.
it's comfortable. Let's
Yeah.
because I remember
Which is terrible.
Yeah, and I remember we would have conversations for the last couple of years, if not 3, where you would kind of call me or text me and just be like, dude, help me out, like give me, what are some tips for resume or what should I be looking at? And I feel like every time that we would have the conversation, I'm like, oh shoot, like he's gonna take the step. I'm like, heck yeah, man, like it'll be cool to have another friend in marketing and pitch ideas off of or whatever, and then. Maybe that's where the self-doubt or the comfortability came in and you just maybe didn't decide to pull the trigger or you did and it just didn't work out,
Well, a few things, I kind of did try a few times, but the jobs just weren't there for the most part. I would say that was maybe 40%
It's tough,
of it.
bro. Yeah. I believe that 100%.
Right. Like it definitely wasn't the majority of it, but it was a big part of it.
And getting that no sometimes just, it hurts, bro. Like
I'd
like
rather
getting that
get
no,
no's.
but that didn't like make you not want to keep going.
No, I'm saying like I wasn't even getting a no. I was just getting
just
nothing.
feedback.
You know what I mean? Like,
I
where
agree
you
with that
apply
part.
for like 5 different jobs and you don't hear back from any of them.
It's frustrating because you're like, what's not working?
Right.
Or are they even seeing it?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of articles coming out now that basically jobs, a lot of those job postings are basically created to almost to manipulate the markets and their shares.
Yeah, there's some. I believe the politics behind it because
they're trying to show growth in their companies and stuff like that, and trying to make other people within the companies work harder, to look like they're going to bring other people in, different things like that. But yeah, man, just like knowing that was the hardest part. It was like going to a university, especially nowadays, a small university like NMSU, you never know like what could happen. Like
right.
Especially as a not a professor, like in a staff role, there's so many different things that could happen that that could be out of my control, and I end up without a job. So that was honestly one of the biggest things that was keeping me from finally pulling the trigger. Really, it was really those two things, and just kind of, I knew for sure that teaching was not for me. I knew that long term I was not going to do it because I could not see myself doing it. I mean, I couldn't even at this time last year. I already knew I wanted out, and I couldn't see myself, even getting to May. That felt like an eternity, and so, I knew that wasn't the route, and so, it was really at a time I had to level up teaching wise. Like I had to start the process leveling up or find a different job. And so luckily it all worked out where I was able to transition to a job that I actually, had an interest in and paid well, and not instead of, just having to go like be a server or something for the next year while I find a different job. Because I knew I was not going back to teaching.
That'd been funny to cool. Or that'd be a funny story to tell, but I'm sure the experience of it would have been
right.
Like, I don't even know what the right word would be, but eventful, maybe, humbling.
Yeah, for sure. I was not going back. I knew, I would say February or March. I knew for sure I was not going to go back to teaching.
I think it suits the purpose. I remember being in a situation to where I told myself I never wanted to be a teacher. And then it so happened to come out where my first job was in a youth development specialist role at the Boys and Girls Club, and it was a whole conversation. I was like, hey, I actually like doing this stuff, and I like being around the kids, getting into Arizona and being able to work with teenagers, which is the group that I would love to work with at most. But what did it for me was, and it's two things. It's the government of the expectations of what a teacher should look like. I still think with how far we've gotten in society and norms and what's expected of people, I still feel like there's a gap between how teachers are supposed to act outside of work and what they can truly believe and stand for outside of work that doesn't fall in line with them losing their job.
Right.
And you see it day in and day out that there are teachers out there that stand true to some of the things and values and, the whatever services they decide to follow. And it hurts them because in the end, gets thrown out by kids or whatnot. So,
well, it's crazy because I was just in a bit of a workshop, like at the university level about that, more or less.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The free speech aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think being in the university, it's a little bit easier, I would say, but I still think there's some areas that it can improve in. But I'm very into the things that I like to do, and the last thing I want to do is bring a negative name to not only the school or the place that I'm at, but bring it to the kids that don't have the choice or the opportunity to make the choice. And that's where it kind of got me. But
no, I totally get that. I think when I had basically already accepted the job at NMSU, I kind of got a little more like off subject with like the teaching on some of them. It was still related to social studies and stuff, but like it was stuff that didn't necessarily didn't fit into the curriculum exactly where we were at. So that was nice to be able to go off script more or less.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's like teachers that do that all the time. I just got like a small
and it suits everyone's purpose in their own ways. You know what I'm saying? So that was one area that I struggle with, and we could probably go down the rabbit hole of talking about more of those. But kind of back to like the whole like the doubt thing. So what were some of those conversations in your head that you had? Because I think money is an easy one to talk about. It's like it's an easy one to say because you sometimes identify it as your personality. At a certain point, as when is it okay to walk away from a job that you are not getting compensated for the thing that you could be, or at least be helping out with a little bit more for how you're feeling when you go home? Because
honestly, I just had to look at it as like money. It was not like that was going to always be like what kept me, I guess. Like it was always going to be the excuse or like the final reason if I let it. Okay. And so I tried to not I tried looking at it like if money was not part of the decision, how would I make the decision? You know what I mean? And so that was definitely part of it. And like I just looked at like how unhappy I was at the time, and it just definitely wasn't worth any amount of money, I would say, but specifically what I was making wasn't like anything to like, it was good money. I don't want to like say I was like, making nothing. Like, I was fortunate to be making a decent amount of money, and, but it was like I said, like it wasn't close to six figures or anything where like I would really be hurting if I left. Right. I took a pay cut.
So then tell me what does self-doubt kind of mean to you, and how did it play a role in every couple of weeks that you say that you mentioned that it comes up? Like how would you define it for your lifestyle?
I think mostly just doubting basically just doubting like.
But what does that look like?
Like
give me a scenario.
Like the easiest one, and this is kind of something I've only recently started to learn to overcome, is like before going on a run, especially if I know it's gonna be a little bit of a longer one, and like I can already it's like Wednesday or Thursday and my legs are feeling it, and like I just tell myself, oh, it's gonna suck, and I know it's gonna suck, but I gotta get through it and stuff like that. And I end up taking like an hour and a half or 2 hours just to get ready to go on this run that's only gonna take 40 minutes. Okay. Because I'm like psyching myself out. I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's gonna suck, And then I get like 10 minutes in, I'm into the first mile, and I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty easy. Like I should have just, if I would have just started when I should have, like I could have been done by now. And like I guess I forget often how much I'm capable of as far as where I'm at physically, and so that's where like the biggest thing. And I think that also translates to work stuff, is like I forget a little bit of like what I'm capable of as far as just anything, I guess. And that was kind of the biggest thing also with the work, was like doubting myself if I'm even qualified for some of these jobs I want out there.
Do you think at a certain point the purpose starts to become a fade when there's no enjoyment in the work that you're doing, or in this case 100%. In the run?
Yeah, that was definitely like.
And we can call it back to the running, because I do think it's a good subject to talk about. It's the easiest
way to like. That's what I.
Well, because you find it fun. Yeah, like it's supposed to be fun for you, and I think it's the great thing that I think of is you enjoy doing it, but then in this moment of, oh man, I have this long run. I'm taking an hour and a half to get ready. It's like easily at a certain point, or maybe when you first started, it was like you were looking forward to that run, and you were looking forward to getting ready and going on that run, and you knew you were going to get through it. To where now it's almost like you've set that bar, and now it's maybe that bar is to the point where am I going to hit it today?
That's kind of what it was, I think, especially as I got the first go around in training. Like when I first started, like I would say around this time last year, my goal was just to finish the half marathon, you know, and then within like the first 2 weeks or so of training, I was like, I think 2.5 hours is a reasonable time based on what I think I was running maybe 10.5, 11-minute miles at the time, which is decent. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah. But it wasn't like as fast as like I thought I could get. I could run 9-minute mile, like 1 mile.
Okay.
You know, but like anything over 3, I was like at like 11 miles.
Okay.
Or 11 minutes. And but anyway, I started realizing like at a certain point that I could possibly get under 2 hours or close to 2 hours, and so I got a little too focused on that goal, which I think now I realize was good. I think was approaching it the wrong way, but like you said, I just kind of wasn't getting the results I wanted, or the problem was I had no mindset of the results. So I was just kind of having these random, results. And so I felt like it wasn't producing anything productive. And so I was just, getting down on myself even more and more.
It's always fun when it's simple. The only way I can relate to that is I've been playing golf twice a week.
Nice.
And Pops over here and a couple other people said you really can't get better at it. Who, me? Oh, running. You know what? I'll talk to you about running, but this is not about me. This is about a cohesiveness. But back to the golf. Like I've been playing twice a week, and like I mentioned, you don't get better at something unless you're keeping track, or, holding yourself accountable. So I was like, okay, cool. I downloaded this app, and you're able to track your score, and it's pretty cool. Like it does its justice for it being free. And I decided to start looking and paying attention, counting my strokes, and I'm like, I'm actually not as bad as I thought I was. So I'll give it a month, and I was at like a 17 handicap, and I'm like, okay, cool. So then I would start approaching the game of like, it was almost like competitive, but I was looking at the score. I was like I gotta
yourself.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta play this score. If I don't walk out of here playing this score, I did not enjoy the round. That's how the competitive comes out of me. Whereas I used to just golf and just go and enjoy time, bro. Just to get away from my phone, computer, whatever. So there's a couple of times where I was going, and it got to the point where I was playing 3 times a week because I'm able to get out like at 2:00 some days and be able just to beat the rush. And I was focusing on that. And there's rounds where I was shooting like a 95 and 96, which at the time is really good for me. But when I'm looking at my score, it's probably like 5 or 6 strokes over. And I'm like, what in the world? Kind of mad, but not to the point where I'm treating people like shit, but like kind of like upset about the score and taking it home. And I'm like, dude, you used to enjoy playing golf. Like, don't get so focused on the score. So I really had to check myself. So I understand what you're coming from.
Like that, like I started listening to, or like when I started running, I was telling myself I was going to just listen to like podcasts and audiobooks and stuff like that. And, but then I would, in order to try to get faster, I was playing playlists. They have playlists where you can set it up like, I want to run 7-minute mile, and it'll play music that's at that speed where if you kind of keep up with that pace, you can kind of come close to those times. Yeah. And so the problem is I was listening to the same playlist over and over, and I was getting tired of that. So I had to tell myself, like, this was supposed to be fun. Like, I was not looking forward to runs. It doesn't help that it got cold also. It was, like November. And just the time change and everything just kind of hit all at once. But I had to like go back to, getting away from looking at being focused on the time and just running just to run and like enjoying it, just having fun, like you said, and not trying to get any kind of result out of it.
Yeah. It's hard because then you fell in love with the progress, and then it's like trying to balance out, okay, I enjoy doing this, but I also enjoy when I do it well. Yeah. So how do you balance that out? And I give props now to the people that are doing this at the highest level. Runners that are doing it for, professions and then, athletes that do it for professions, just because they still find a way to have fun even when they lose or even when the game's on the line. So it's easy to have, I feel like, self-doubt in something like that, because 100%. You can't get away from analyzing the performance of how you do. And when it comes to something physical, I feel like as men, we tend to like hold that to our heart a little bit more because we do identify ourselves sometimes as
especially
I'm a runner.
like running and golf where there's
Yes.
individual, like there's no, like it doesn't matter that no one passed you the ball, like you
Right,
can't blame
right.
it. There's no one else to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
For the result at the end of the day.
No, it's a great point. So talk to me about other things. You mentioned your faith in this case. You becoming a Christian. What are some doubts that you've had in being able to hold it closer to your heart now?
Honestly, I don't even think. I think I would say that is what helped with the doubting and everything, and that's been great. And I think I just regret, I just wish I would have studied a lot of this stuff a lot earlier. I think life would have been a lot simpler, But I think it's definitely better. Like I look at, other people out there that are in their 40s and 50s and still barely kind of coming to a lot of those same terms. So I'm still grateful that I discovered it now and not later. But I don't know, man. I think there's just so many. Like I would say that one of the biggest things lately is I discovered this. So before I had started going back to church here in town, I was kind of trying to find different services on YouTube and stuff like that. And I just randomly came across one in Albuquerque that I really enjoyed. And I would still kind of listen to that every so often. And then they started doing a series on the Book of James. And I had never really looked much into it before that. And the pastor was talking about how it's like the guidelines for becoming a mature Christian. That's how a lot of the people refer to it as. And so one of the earliest ones in there was like talking about trials. Yeah. And how, that we don't go through trials just because we go through trials and because, not that God doesn't care for us or anything like that. It's that these things we're supposed to learn lessons from them. Mm-hmm. And, the lessons obviously might not be apparent at the time. And so that's why you have to like reflect on it and pray on it and ask for guidance through those things. And that's what really changed my approach to like, I guess, any kind of struggle that I've faced within the last 9 months or so. I don't remember when I heard listened to this, but just that. And, just knowing that anything that's happening that's hard, it's for a reason. Yeah. And, that there's a lesson to be learned there. And I really think that just that kind of reflects overall is just that my mindset within the last year has really changed. And I think what I've learned recently is that the mindset has everything to do with where you're at in life, right? Like, I think it's a pretty like mainstream psychology term thrown out there that we create our own realities. Mm-hmm. Like if you're always grumpy and you're always mad, you're going to always get negative. Yeah. And it's the same thing as if you're focusing on positive and you're only putting out positive energy. Like that's, what actually, coaches, I read the Energy Bus.
It's a great book.
Around this time last year, I think, around the same time. And so that book really changed my mindset as well of like, no, it has been about 1.5 years ago. Because where I was at career-wise, I was just feeling very negative, and I was letting the other people around me bring me down. And I realized I didn't if I would just left that out, I wouldn't be as unhappy as I was at the time. So that book really helped a lot. Yeah.
I'm just gonna take a small little break and take this filter off so we can get a little bit more lighting out of this. Yeah, perfect. Great little. What's up?
The book? Fabian had talked about it on one of the early podcasts we did back at NMSU, actually. I don't remember which one.
Oh, man, probably.
I just remember what it was about. And then had I read another? I don't think I'd read a different self-help book. I maybe had was looking for some and found one that was similar. And then I had asked him about that title. And so then I found it and got it from the library on the audio book.
And there he is.
Yeah, I think a good one. I like how simple it was too.
Yeah, it's an easier. I mean, dude, we're talking about juniors, seniors in high school that were able to understand what's going on. And I'm definitely not a comprehender when it comes to reading books, but I mean, I think you shine light on great points, man. Like I said, happy to hear how how close you've gotten to faith in itself. And I think self-doubt, and just in relations to trials, it really can make or break somebody.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And one of my challenges, recently, and the last year or two, has been with the victim mentality. Thinking that, like, yes, you go through trials, and it's one thing to have the mindset of, like, obviously I had the mindset of, okay, this is a learning lesson. Like, obviously I'm not going through this because God wants me to face something negative. It's because it's a lesson that I need to learn.
Right.
And maybe sometimes I was going through it once or twice or three times and I still wasn't getting the hint.
Right.
But it was almost as like, just because you see it that way doesn't mean that you're going to comprehend and still not take it as a victim, as if like,
definitely.
well, they were still doing something to me.
Right.
So whatever, X, Y, and Z. But in the point that I'm trying to make is, we all live our own lives as main subjects and main characters. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to the grocery store and you're there only for yourself. You're not there because, Joe's over here getting a milk and you're going to help him find that milk. But I'm trying to get better at being able to, like, be graceful with the things that do happen to me. Shout out to my little nephew. And I think he's an easy point to point out of, and you interact with kids, like, you can tell them anything and they're not going to take it personal because they don't understand that concept yet. Right. So it's like almost trying to live like a kid mentality again, bro. Like,
that's what the Bible says too,
exactly. Live like that, and be able to, like, when something happens, it's not just like straight to the heart. It's almost like, okay, understand what they're trying to say. And if you can't, ask questions.
Yeah.
So, a great conversation that's to had, and, just to kind of fulfill the whole, like, self-doubt thing of what's going on right now, bro. But what do you feel, here's another question for you to kind of, like, go off of, but, like, how do you feel when it comes to how you were maybe 5 years ago to where you're at now? And you've mentioned already, how your trials and how you're viewing that mindset. Mentally, what's another key thing that you've noticed that you've been able to self-develop in 5 years before this?
Man, so much. What would have been 5 years ago? 2019?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, that I was a completely different person then, for sure. But I and a lot of that has to do with age. We would have been 22-ish, 22 going on 23.
Yeah.
Around there. And, like, our brains weren't even developed. And so,
I mean, they still aren't, bro. Right. Like, it's pretty crazy, but I'll let you finish.
No, I would say just being able to reflect. I feel like I've always kind of been good at that, I guess, but definitely more so now, and kind of being able to see, like, how my decisions led to wherever I was at any given moment, even if it's something small, like, just being able to reflect more. I think I've become a little bit more patient, not making as many, like, rash decisions, which I feel like is kind of, not always been beneficial to me in the past. Yeah. But I think one of the biggest things, at least in the last few months, that's helped with me, and it's definitely what helped job-wise, is just kind of not putting things off and not procrastinating as much, and just kind of being doing things as soon as they come up, and not waiting. I think that
for the perfect moment,
right? With just small stuff, especially, like, and they always say the small thing. You do this if you focus on the small things, the big things take care of themselves, and that's definitely something I've noticed. Like, just simple stuff like putting my wallet where I'm not going to forget it when I leave.
There we go. Yeah.
Just like, even just something as simple as, like, washing the dish as soon as it goes in the sink, so that it doesn't pile up. Like, if it's especially if it's an empty sink, like, why let it pile up when it'll take 10 seconds to wash the dish, And so, I think just that shift in mentality, and honestly, like, I really don't even feel like, I think a lot of where I was 5 years ago was even reflective of where I was even a year and a half ago. So I really think a lot of the change I've felt, and maybe I just see it this way, but I think a lot of the change I think just the results of some of the changes I'm barely just starting to see now within the last few months.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because how you describe it, I feel the same way. Mm-hmm. Talking to people from work and noticing how, like, I tend to make colleagues, in this case I won't necessarily call them friends, but make colleagues and talk to people that are usually in their, like, late 30s, early 40s. And the common theme that I found is every time I talk to somebody like that, they ask obviously like, oh, how old are you? And 27, 26 at the time. And they're like, oh, dude, you haven't even lived yet.
Yeah.
And you see these quotes on Instagram and you're kind of corny sometimes and you don't ever think they're true, but you talk to somebody like a human testimony and they're like, you got to look at it this way. When you're 18, you're barely becoming an adult.
Yeah.
You still have another 12, 12 more years to really become and mold into whatever it is you are based off the decisions, based off the values that you carry, based off the mistakes you learn from. Mm-hmm. He was like, so you have 12 more years to actually turn that adult into a mature adult. Yeah. And I'm like, I never looked at it that way. Like, we say we're adults at 18, but we're not truly developed until we're like, 27, 28, 30 years old.
I would say 27 is barely the start of it.
Exactly. And I barely feel like, this year I'm slowly finding the small areas that I'm figuring things out in certain areas, So I do think being graceful in that end, because I tend to get caught in the like, it should be done by now, or like, not only to the fact of like, oh, this person's doing it, but like, I feel like I should have it figured out.
Yeah.
How does a 27-year-old act? How does a 27-year-old talk, dress, whatever? But it's like being 17 again.
Dude, I agree.
So,
and that's something I think in the last few years have been able to, that's something that's helped is like, that's kind of something where the self-doubt came in for sure, is like feeling like, oh, at 24, there's other 24, 25-year-olds that are in their career and they're happy and they're making like a good salary and they're doing a job that they went to school for or something like that, and just kind of feeling like you're playing catch up. But then, like you said, you talked to people in their 40s and their 50s that feel that same way still at that age, and you're like, oh, well, then at least I'm not there.
Yeah. So
and instead of looking at it that way, just being like, oh, okay, like, and this is kind of something I've known since I was early 20s, but it's just kind of like most people are kind of faking that adult feeling. Mm-hmm. Most people, I think, go through life, especially, I see how quickly you go through your 20s, and you like, even now, like, I had this thought the other day of like, I get home sometimes and I'm like, okay, like, when do the adults get here? You know what I mean? Like,
dude, that's true.
Almost,
yeah.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm a lot closer to 30 than I am to just 21. And I still feel like you said, still kind of feeling like 17.
It's like to think that people our age are taking care of 4 kids right now.
I know.
I'm thinking like, I can go to the grocery store and I'm like, I don't know how people, like, I'm supposed to be shopping for a baby. I think about that every time
I check out.
And I'm like,
store,
dang, I really need to get it figured out.
But and then I get sad because I think I realize that I think a lot of people out there are hurting because of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man.
And I feel bad. And I don't even I just buy like the basics as far as groceries. And I'm like, man, and this is just for 2 people. Like, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Just 3
Same mindset
4.
for sure.
Yeah. But like you said, dude, I think that has a lot, like that imposter syndrome almost kind of.
It's definitely imposter syndrome.
Especially, working as a teacher, I was 23-ish, 24 when I kind of first started. And so, there are teachers younger than that, definitely, but all the teachers I was working with were like 40s and 50s, 60s plus. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of young teachers. And so you kind of, you see other people that are kind of happy in their careers and, they've had that established, and you kind of see online, which, you have to remind yourself like what you see, especially like on Instagram, social media is not always definitely not accurate. And so just like, you see people in a career that they went to school for and they're happy, but you don't know that they're happy necessarily, you don't.
And they're hurting in some areas.
Right.
It's like a balancing beam. That's the way I kind of look at it is, if I'm doing really well in these areas and I'm lacking in these, there's definitely people out there that are doing the exact same thing, I always try to tell myself the same areas of things, just due to the fact that, working in finance, you can get around people that necessarily have like the whole money thing figured out, which I feel like is the biggest topic to go into when it comes to being successful in this world. And you look at them and you just see the way they present themselves and you're like, oh, dude, they're living life. And in reality, I've read so many testimonies that sometimes those are the people that hurt the most.
Right, yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm like, I don't even know, like, thinking of titles and thinking of like chief marketing officers and like if that was whatever I wanted to be at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to go to sleep with one eye open thinking the next day could be my last because I'm taking account for a whole team.
Yeah.
And that's not fun to me.
Right.
So yeah, I think imposter syndrome definitely exists. I came from church like last week or the week before that, and the pastor had a really good message about imposter syndrome, how it's a sin. It's a sin for us Christians to really buy into that and to really think of yourself in a way that God didn't make you.
Right,
Like God made
right.
you to be specifically one way and one way only, and
Right.
for us to kind of bring up upon us our own issues and more problems rather than the stuff that we're already facing.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
I
dude,
agree,
what are we doing? Like that's not the godly way.
Yeah, that's something
So,
my pastor brings up a lot too, and about kind of that the doubt, is not doesn't come from God.
Right.
That's not something that He would place in our hearts or our
it's
minds.
like we feel that back to
That's
like we cause our own problems.
Right. Yeah, that's our own egos. Yes, we cause our own problems. That's
Yeah.
the best way to put it.
Yeah.
My girlfriend brought that up. This is a few months ago, but she was talking about some like the people that she works with, and just that they create their own problems. Like these problems don't even necessarily exist. They just exist because they hyperfixated on something and created it.
Yeah,
problem
dude.
that it shouldn't have been there in the
Yeah.
first place.
And you think about anxiety, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that I have the cure for anxiety, but like for
Right.
me personally, when I think about anxiety and stress and how much of it I go through in a weekly manner, and there's some times where I just do terrible. I don't catch it, and it ruins some of my day. But there's small times where I'm catching it, and I'm like, what am I really scared about or stressed out
Right,
about in this
yeah.
moment? Like, how much of this has to affect anything that I truly value or believe in or have faith in? And it's usually nothing in those
Right.
manners. It's usually nothing in those subjects. So I'm like, it quickly takes me out of that mindset, and I just feel peace.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly I start to be like, okay, I'm too peaceful. Like, why does this feel too peaceful? Why does
Yeah.
this feel too good? But yeah, man, it's a constant battle.
And that's something I wish that was easy to translate
Yeah.
to people that are not Christians or non-believers. Is just like it's the peace that you get,
Yeah.
And like the Bible says that that we're there. It doesn't promise us a easy life or
Mm-hmm.
a fruitful life or anything, and it does. What it does promise us is those hard times,
Right.
and that we are going to go through hard times because of the world we live in, and so. Once you know that, it does make things a little bit easier when you have the mindset, because you know that you're not going through the bad thing you're going through, no matter how bad it is, isn't just to cause, chaos and all this in your life. There's a lesson in there, and it's tough it's easy to say now, when you're in a good time, and it's definitely harder for someone going through those hard times to hear. But, I think that's why it's important to just kind of always stay in that headspace when you can.
Headspace, and I think having the right people around you to big you up. I
Yeah.
think I don't think I would be this far in things if I didn't have the support system that
No,
surrounding
100%.
themselves around the faith that I call that I call family and I call love. But it's tough, bro. I think trying to reach the people in this case that don't necessarily follow or make the debate of if God really did exist, like why would He want bad things to happen? And
Right.
it's because this is obviously is in heaven.
Right.
This is definitely something that you walk the path less traveled. You are going to be exposed to some
Right.
of the most horrific and some of the most precious times
Yeah.
of your life, and it's a roller coaster, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Mentally,
Yes. Yeah.
it's all how you look at it.
You don't,
and
right. You don't have to just deal with the craziness and just go
Right.
through it just to go through it.
because you're not alone.
Right. Yeah.
Really, like you're really not alone. And
Yeah.
I think when I started seeing how problems for me weren't individually, written up as a combo or like somebody that just personalized a plan for me, it started making me feel a lot better and coming across people that actually were open to talking about it.
Yeah.
Getting into some of these like small groups and understanding where men specifically were coming from with,
Yeah, 100%.
issues with depression, anxiety, and other things. So it's like there are the right people out there. It's just sometimes you got to look for it, and a lot of times you'll come across some people that don't really have the same mindset as you.
Yeah.
And being in those times of darkness, or in this case by yourself, is sometimes the best time to really understand what it is that you have to go after.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things too, is having something to go after, having some kind of goal or vision
Yeah.
for yourself. And that's
It keeps people going, bro.
Yeah. And like I said, to tie it back to the running, that's what got me into running, is like just setting a goal and it being easy to measure, especially like at the time I was just kind of getting back into fitness, and I felt that I was definitely at the fittest I was at the time before I even got into running, as an adult. And so I wanted to say, okay, how fit am I? Like, let me see how I can measure
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's like, oh, how fast can you run a mile, basically? And then
Right.
how fast can you run 3 miles? And then I was like, oh, well, how far can I run without stopping? And I ran 6 miles one time on a whim, kind
That's
of.
crazy.
And then after that, I was like, I can do 10. And I told myself, I was like, I'm pretty sure half marathon's 13. I was like, if I can do 10, I can do 13.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to the half marathon. Obviously it's a big jump to go from 13 to 26, but I definitely see a marathon in my near future within the next year for sure.
I think it has to be though.
Yeah, well,
I think physical endurance, yes, but
Yeah.
I think you find the right way to approach it. I think it's definitely
Right.
like something that can come second nature.
and what I like about it is that I started from scratch basically, and I think it's important to start new things in life every so often, and like that led me into swimming, and like I had never
Okay.
really like swam before. Like I can swim, and I
Right.
enjoy swimming, but like as a next form of exercise, I'd never done it before, and man, I'd never really like I knew it was hard. I knew like like professional athletes
Yeah.
and fighters do it for a reason because it's so hard, but man, I didn't realize how hard. Like I thought, like I could just go down and back like
Yeah,
a lap,
yeah.
like easy. And I did it the first time. I was like, that's pretty tough. And I did it again. And I was like, I can't keep doing that.
You're gonna be shredded by the time you're done.
Yeah. So I actually ended up doing so that led me into doing triathlons. I did a triathlon back in
Wow.
May.
Wow.
Well, June. It was the 1st of June. And so like that's something I never thought I would have done
Yeah.
before, and that kind of opens the doors to a lot of other things. I thought I wanted to do an Ironman at some point, but then I learned that with triathlons, you're not allowed to use headphones at all, and they're pretty strict about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
definitely don't think I could.
People
do
like that are nuts,
no,
bro.
Yeah, and I get why people think there's a lot of like hardcore runners and hardcore like endurance athletes that think that using headphones is like kind of cheating when you run.
Because it takes you out of a.
Because you're it's almost like a crutch,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like
basically,
that.
yeah,
and so
kind of supplements.
which I definitely agree with, especially the way I've been trained. And I keep telling myself I need to start running more without music because there's gonna become a time where something's gonna go wrong with my headphones or phone or something, and I'm not gonna have music, like the day of a race or something.
That's true.
Or workouts,
That's true.
and I can't.
That's a good way to
rely
look
on
at
that.
it.
Yeah. But that's what's also not like and that's like thinking about those things, and that's kind of how I've been trying to approach other things in life, like especially with work and making a plan and making lists and things like that.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I think you're on the right path. I think it's cool to see you get back in an athleticism mindset.
Yeah.
Because I remember for a while you were doing like the whole walking with your dog and you were running with the dog for a little bit. So to see where you're at now, dude, I think it's amazing. And continuing to find happiness and success through your faith and through this running thing, I think it's cool to see, and I can't wait to see you keep moving forward with it, especially now that you're training.
I'm trying to combine the two, honestly, now at this point. What I've done in the last few races I've had is I have two different things. I have like just a verse from the Bible that I have printed out, and I put it. I've what's it called? Pinned it to my pack. The last two runs I've done, or the last two races I've done, which happen to have been trail races, but on like the other side of it, like I had a thing like basically like I just put need a pre-race prayer.
Oh, okay.
Question mark.
Yeah.
I had that, but I'd gotten to both of those races like a little too late than I would have wanted to, so I didn't have the time to actually like pray with anyone. But that's kind of something that I want to be able to spread that message through athletics. I feel like is huge.
Yeah, dude.
And
that's awesome.
And, something else with that is like the health aspect and the spiritual aspect, like bringing those two together. Like it's something I've discovered more recently on Instagram of like people creating like fitness groups that are like kind of
faith-based. Yeah, dude. There's some out in Arizona. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so I think that's something huge that like that I didn't like I kind of made that connection, but didn't really make that connection of the literal mind body connection.
Yeah.
And, like why we obviously should take care of ourselves as Christians if we do truly believe that our bodies, just having our body is special, and so it is almost that gluttony is a sin, and so I see why now more so.
Oh yeah, there was a church that I went to in Arizona. when we first had gotten there, and the pastor was very adamant about guys in the gym, guys, carrying open concealing, guys learning how to shoot a gun. Like it was, and he would obviously quote the Bible verses that
This
talked
is
about
Arizona
it.
for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, dude, this church was pretty interesting for sure. But definitely learned a lot from that church. But it's our duty to be fit and to be, in this case, the protectors in some instances. So that way, if anything does happen, so it's more than just you looking good and feeling good. It's the whole like, if you're going to be the man of the house in the Christian faith, you got to be the one that can step up.
Right.
And,
you never know when a family member might have some kind of medical issue, and then you have to be the one to take care of them.
Yeah,
or,
dude.
Rush them.
Just to have the mindset for sure.
Yeah,
sure,
and
when it comes to
obviously
it.
when, especially like men in their 40s and 50s and they have kids, like you got to keep your heart.
Yeah.
You
You can set the example.
I think I was reading, man, that like the average age for heart attacks nowadays is like 50.
It's dropped.
Yeah,
it's dropped
crazy.
for sure. It's dropped. It's nuts, man. There's a lot of things that I feel like are hitting a little bit younger now in a lot of stuff. But what?
Battery's running low.
How can he tell?
I don't know, but I do see the light right there.
I know.
That's just a recording.
It's just a recording. I mean,
Maybe he didn't say batteries though. I don't know what he said.
maybe. I think that's a great time to kind of spin off some questions before we end the show, man. Rapid fire questions. What's one thing that you're going to try to accomplish before the year ends?
Like before the calendar year ends?
Yeah, calendar year.
Ooh, actually, I have running 15 miles on my bucket list.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because with half marathon training, there's long runs in there, and the last time I did it, I only wanted to go up to 12 miles because I wanted like the first time I run 13 to be race day. And
okay.
now I'm trying to run I'm trying to shave quite a bit off of my time. I ran and 209 and some change was like my official time, like 209.30 I think, or 208.30, and so now I'm trying to run under 155.
Okay.
And so it'll be pretty tough. It'll be like about a 9 minute, even I think a little under 9 minute mile pace.
Okay.
And so I definitely have to learn to run longer so that I can run faster for that shorter amount of time. So running 15 miles is definitely a goal. I want to do a couple more races. I was having trouble with like pre-race anxiety. I would have trouble sleeping before like a couple of the races I did, and which is funny because I never had that issue during high school. Like I was talking with that. Like I don't remember ever having trouble sleeping before games really, and so I think a little bit of it is just like it's more on myself. So, but just kind of wanting to experience that as much as I can. But that's really it. I don't really a lot of the goals, especially physically, are more into next year. Like there's a couple more triathlons I want to get under my belt, and then that rolled out into a marathon and stuff. So I'm kind of building up to that right now.
Okay.
So I'm using the winter to start getting ready for the spring, basically.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, great accomplishments to try to get to for sure.
Yeah.
And then last question: 5 things that you're happy for and that you're grateful for that you've been able to come to peace with, or in this case, you've been able to attack and be successful in.
Yeah. I'd say number 1, definitely my relationship with God. Just having that such a better understanding of that. Like, I can't explain how much that means to me and how much that I like. That it's truly become a really my identity the last since January, really, and so that just my physical health. I'm just so great. That was one of the reasons I got into running too, and kind of always try to remind myself, especially on the days that I don't feel like doing it. It's just that it's a gift to be able to go out and run and to just have a healthy body.
That's a good point.
Like I might not always have it. I could get hurt tomorrow and never be able to run again. Or you could you never know what could happen. And so I'm very thankful for that. Just thankful for, like you said, the support system, having so many people in my life that care and are there, and knowing that, and just that's definitely motivation as well. You always want to make those people proud.
Okay, we'll do it right now.
Let's see.
Sounds good.
Number 4, I'm thankful to have a job that I enjoy.
There we go.
Definitely, I'm very happy. So I don't know if we said it, but I'm over at NMSU now, working as a staff member. I work with the Student Success Center, so I'm still able to help people and help students. So it's definitely obviously in a different role, not teaching, but I'm definitely very happy where I'm at. Um, let's see, number 5. I'm thankful to be on this podcast. It's been a while.
Hey, I appreciate it.
I think I'm definitely. I'd have to guess. I'm probably up there with most appearances.
You definitely,
me and
you
Jared-
probably take number 1 for
Yeah.
sure. I think you've been on every season that I've hosted. And
Oh, nice.
Coincidentally enough, this would be the 5th year or
Isn't that crazy?
5th season in 5 years. I think 2018 we started BHD.
I was gonna say, was that
6
Power
years?
Hour in 2018?
2018 spring we finished Power Hour, and then 2018 fall we picked up BHD.
okay.
So yeah, man, it's cool to see how all this came in. And although this isn't like a typical season for me, I still wanted to kind of make something before the year ends, like I did last year, and no better way to have you come on and.
I just want to
talk
say, I
about some
think
good
it's really
stuff.
cool that you still do this. Like, it would have been very easy to not. You were just
Oh,
kind of
man.
doing it for fun as
Yeah.
a job, and I definitely knew you would keep doing it. Like after graduation, I knew you would do it for another year for sure. But I definitely, I don't think, I wasn't thinking that far ahead for sure.
Yeah,
but I
no,
definitely
dude.
wouldn't have guessed that you would still be doing it and that it would grow to what it is now. So
No,
it's
I
really cool to
appreciate it,
see
man.
To see where it was. Like, it's funny because I walked past the Crux studio. now
Oh
every day,
man, that's
so,
cool, bro.
Yeah,
That's
getting to see
cool.
today I walked by and looked over and I was like, man, that's so funny. Like, it's still going.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. And thank you for the kind words. It's humbling to hear stuff like that from your close friends. And I don't think I ever would have either, man. I think it was cool because it was something that when you're in college, you have so much energy. Like I remember having so much energy in college and working 3 jobs and being able to do this. I think I looked forward most to just bringing people on and talking about stuff that really only mattered to the small community, and then talking about sports and bringing on people like Bryce and having like a local phenom do something crazy and be able to be successful at it. But I think it's all become who I am. And
I think the core of the show stayed. It's like very much an interview.
Yeah, and that's
show,
what I
and
appreciate the most.
I think you do a good job of almost having like a theme every show, even if it doesn't start out that way. It always ends up that way.
You can kind of see how it goes by.
Yeah.
No, it's a great call out, dude. And there's no like, and I always tell people this. I think everyone has the right to run their show however they want to run it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the shows that I see are very more based off of like getting, trending topics on, or like talking about relationships. And, we need that kind of stuff. Trust me, I watch it sometimes, especially when it comes across some of the Christian podcasts that I see on TikTok or whatnot, that I listen to a little bit more because it's a little bit more believable and understanding. But I think if you want to run a parody podcast, most definitely it's needed. People watch it. It's funny. It's good comedy, or it's good stuff to listen to. But mine for sure, I'm so glad that I've been able to keep this the way it goes. Bring on somebody that I care about or that I know has a story to tell, and be able to mass produce this and be able to get people to listen to it and have a conversation about it. So
yeah, I know. I think you've only done like maybe 1 or 2 that have really been about yourself.
yeah, dude, I think 2 for sure. There may be 1 under in there, but I don't ever think
There's definitely
been
people that have like 5 podcast episodes that all 5 are about them.
Yeah, or they're just about like a topic that maybe is only going on or is trending in that time of being, which
it's
I think
all
is
just
great.
about, like, a certain
Yeah, I
video
think it's
game or
great when you have the time to do it. Most definitely, I would love to do more podcast episodes and talk about more timely things if I could.
Would you ever do a second one? You think?
A second podcast show?
Yeah, like just something about something totally different, I guess. Or would you ever just? I guess
I would love to be on the flip side of it. I would love to be the one that would just come in and talk about something.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like have somebody run a show, but be more of like
Being
their
able to be
second,
guests
like
or
their
co-host.
their co-host type of deal, and be more like on that kind of realm. But
Well, if radio's still around when we retire, you got.
there we go. Yeah, dude, that might be what I look into. But no, dude. Again, it's great to have you around. It's great to have in this case conversations about things that matter. And I think you're doing everything right, and just appreciative to be able to call you a friend and family for this long. So
Same to you, dude. And like I said, the last time we talked, like you all inspire me too, and just kind of and it helps knowing that the people around you are also trying to be successful and not, just kind of being complacent.
Yeah,
And
dude.
just kind of it helps knowing that there's other people chasing
Yeah.
after what they want, and
Yeah.
and also like not wanting to be complacent myself.
Yeah, bro. Thank you. Keep going. We're all gonna get there, and
100%.
it's just nice to be here.
Heck yeah.
Nice to be here, bro. So
Go Aggies.
go Aggies. We got UNM this weekend.
Yeah.